Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about ensuring EB-5 investment integrity and compliance through construction management. And there's a lot that we want to cover today, and hopefully you can get some good information that can help you and your EB-5 projects as they navigate the RIA. Today's speakers include myself. I'm a manager here at Baker Tilly. I help lead the EB-5 team at Baker Tilly, and Baker Tilly has been in the EB-5 space for well over a decade, helping hundreds and hundreds of projects navigate the EB-5 rules and regulations, especially as the RIA came out in 2022. Also, we have Tony Ullman, who's a principal at Baker Tilly. And last but not least, we have Tom Martin, who's the COO of EB-5 United. And he'll be joining us and sharing his experience as he's used our services for compliance with the EB-5 RA. Today we're going to cover these topics. The first one is, what is EB-5 draw integrity reporting? Next is, when is it required? Why are we even talking about it? The third point is going to be benefits beyond compliance. And then we're going to turn over to Tom and discuss the project case study. And last but not least, we'll be talking about integrated services approach as you combine our services with your overall project. So first of all, what is draw integrity reporting? It is first and foremost a report prepared by an independent third party. Secondly, it is the monthly compilation of construction costs that are incurred by the project. Third, it is the verification that the contractors have been paid for the work that's performed. In a few minutes, we'll dive deeper into the methodology and the benefits of reporting. But I'd like to start today's discussion by taking a moment to review the regulation guiding our work here. The EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act of 2022, otherwise known as the RA, has Section Q, which a lot of you are very familiar with. And in this section, it describes how Congress would like there to be third-party oversight over the flow of EB-5 funds. There's two components to Section Q. First one that most people are familiar with is the EB-5 fund administrator role. And that fund administrator is going to be a third party that oversees the flow of EB-5 funds into and out of the new commercial enterprise, or the NCE. But the other component of this Section Q is what we're going to be talking about today, which is the construction consultant role. And for NCEs that have common ownership with job creating entities, USCIS and Congress requires there to be a construction consultant that oversees and regularly reports to the EB-5 fund administrator about how the EB-5 funds are used by the project. And as you can see in the quote of the RA that we have posted on the screen here, the construction consultant is supposed to provide no later than 30 days after the funds have been deployed into the JCE, a written report to the fund administrator. Today we have Tom Martin from EB-5 United, who has used our construction consultant services at Baker Tilly. I'd like to turn just a couple minutes over to him first to describe how he's been using our services.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me on. It's a privilege to be partnering with Baker Tilly. One of the things that we at EB-5 United found that the RIA was implicit in its rules around affiliated JCs and NCEs, but we were looking at that purely from a fiduciary standpoint. We're not affiliated with any of our JCEs that we sponsor, but we still felt that rule was grounded in really solid financial stewardship, which we are a part of. And so here at EB-5 United, we require all of our projects to have a third-party construction monitor to provide monthly reports on construction progress. So we feel like it just provides an extra layer of security, not only for us as the NCE manager, but also to our investors. They've come to really rely on these reports from Baker Tilly to give them a sense of comfort, not only that the project is progressing as it should, but everybody's very interested in the job creation progress. So using this direct data to actually calculate real job creation based on the economic impacts becomes a real comfort that comes on a monthly basis. So we appreciate that partnership with Baker Tilly.
Thank you, Tom. So here on this screen, we have a diagram that I'm guessing a lot of you are familiar with, but we wanted to point out where the construction consultant sits in the flow of EB-5 and in the structure of EB-5. So as you know, we have the EB-5 Regional Center that sponsors the investors and the NCE, or the new commercial enterprise. And the EB-5 fund administrator is engaged by the NCE to perform the fund administration services. And again, the requirement is under the RIA is when there's common ownership between the NCE and the JCE, a construction consultant is required to provide regular reports for the use of EB-5 funds. So in this diagram here, we see that the JCE has engaged a construction consultant or has a construction consultant that provides that regular report to the EB-5 fund administrator. Next, I'd like to introduce Tony Ullman, or turn the time over to Tony, who will go into more detail about the monitoring methodology.
Thank you, Warren. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to walk through the methodology, the details behind the bullets that you see on the screen, and talk about some of the whys behind the tasks that go into the draw management methodology. So let's begin with a general walkthrough. The first thing that needs to happen is to verify the draw amounts and make sure that they are calculated properly. Now, in today's world of AI tools and automation, we don't usually think about the accuracy of invoices. However, it is really absolutely critical that we verify the draw amounts are calculated correctly. This may seem like a nominal task. However, it's critical to establishing the draw accuracy. Over 60% of the pay applications and invoices that Baker Tilly sees, they have arithmetic errors. The reason for that is that so many of the reporting modules that are used to create construction invoices and related documents are built on spreadsheets. And all of us that are well-versed in using spreadsheets recognize that it's not difficult to break a formula, to cut and paste something, and then all of a sudden, the template that worked great for us last month just doesn't work quite as well as it does this month. Consequently, when we are verifying draw amounts, it is critical that we go back, we verify those calculations. Additionally, adjustments from the draft pay application process or pencil draw, incorrect application of formulas, the application of change orders, use of allowances, use of contingency, and recognition of previous payments. All of these things can contribute to pay application errors. Consequently, Baker Tilly begins the draw management process by recalculating all of these invoices. Now that we know that at least what's been presented to us has an accurate face on its computations, it becomes imperative that you look down into the details. What are the source documents and how are these invoices being comprised? We expect that the drop package should include invoices from all the contractors and consultants expecting to get paid this month. Additionally, these invoices should be backed up with the appropriate source documents. They should have timesheets. They should have supplier invoices, subcontractor pay applications, perhaps purchase orders. All of the source documents that enable an invoice to be representative of the entire cost package should be part of the draw management review. And the reason for this is, is that unless these costs can be verified, it completely erodes the integrity of the consultant report. As a third-party consultant, it's our job to tell all parties or all readers of the report that the information that we are reporting on is complete, it is accurate, and it is representative of the reality of the project. And by understanding and verifying to the source documents that comprise the project cost, enables us to make that statement with a high degree of confidence and accuracy. So then the next element as we look at our methodology is to verify the costs are applicable to the project and comply with the program requirements. Many developers have concurrent projects. Many contractors have concurrent projects. Consequently, it would be easy for something to be posted to an EB-5 project. A cost could be posted that is not really applicable. So in addition to looking at those source documents, it becomes an important element to determine, are the costs that are being passed through for the last 4 weeks or last 30 days, do these costs really belong on this project? Do we see equipment rentals for equipment that's really on this project? When we see invoices for a project that's being built in Florida, but the rental invoices say South Carolina, well, clearly someone made an error, and those errors need to be elevated and rectified before a report can be issued. Furthermore, what are the program requirements as far as allowable costs? Are there any elements either based on funding, any kinds of bank requirements, third-party lender requirements that may restrict the use of funds for certain kinds of activities? So therefore, not only do we look for the accuracy and documentation of these costs, but also ensuring that there are no covenants around how dollars are being spent, and if there are covenants, that those dollars are being spent within the rules and regulations of the program. From there, we move to reconciling the fund transfers with the developer uses. Certainly, as we now identified that the costs incurred apply to the projects, we need to work with the fund administrator, ensuring that the funds are transferred to the appropriate parties, and that people are getting paid, which leads us right to the lien waiver process. Frequently, lien waivers are considered to be a fairly simple control function, and in fact they are, assuming contractors are paying the subcontractors and suppliers on a timely basis, and lien waivers are being supplied and collected. This is a very straightforward process. What makes the lien waiver management process so important is, number one, is if someone is not being paid on a timely basis, why aren't they being paid? Are there quality issues? Are there cash flow issues on the project? Is someone not fulfilling their obligation, either as a prime contractor, a subcontractor, or a supplier? Are there delays in the project? All of these can be contributing factors when a lien waiver is missing. Furthermore, when a lien waiver is missing for an extended period of time, not that one was lost in the middle of a project, but perhaps a trade contractor hasn't been paid now for 3, 4, or 5 months. These become red flags that lead to claims and litigation. And whenever a project has claims and litigation, it adds a significant amount of complexity. And in some states, there are even conditions that prevent getting the certificates of occupancy if there are significant liens on the project. So all of these are going to contribute to job creation and the ability to fully satisfy the EB-5 requirements. So lien waiver management is a component of how we manage our projects. In addition to looking at the draw process and specifically that the money has been spent and formulas are correct, Baker Tilly can layer on additional kinds of services that drive higher integrity on the project. The first is a contract compliance audit. The developer, the investors, as well as the lenders all benefit from a compliance audit. The purpose of a compliance audit is to ensure that the construction contract professionals are billing the project according to terms and conditions. This is how we detect, or when we would detect, a billing error. Did someone accidentally mistype a $100 an hour billing rate and put it into the system at $1,000 an hour? And which, of course, seems like such a significant error. And how would you know that, or how could you miss $1,000 an hour error on a project that is billing millions and millions of dollars a month? Having a particular line item that is $30,000 or $40,000 above what it should be might not necessarily be detected. And the purpose of doing a contract compliance audit is to elevate the billing accuracy issues as well as mitigate the risks of overcharges and charging for non-allowable costs. As we drive further into the kinds of strategies and tools for enhancing the project, change order analysis is one of those areas. Change orders are a standard in almost every project. Changes in condition, changes to plans, changes to owner expectations, schedule adjustments, all of these lead to additional costs on a project. However, what are those project controls that are evaluating those change orders? Are those change orders being priced according to the terms and conditions of the contract? Are the project management professionals holding the contractors accountable to the highest level of quality with their change order? So are they estimating accurately? Is it reflective of the correct number of hours that it takes to fulfill that change order? Is it a duplicate change order? Did someone accidentally take a change order that was previously approved and accidentally submit it a second time? And on a project that might have hundreds of RFIs, or requests for information, it would be easy to have something that was duplicate get passed through and approved. All of these lead to unnecessary additional costs. On the upfront planning process, Baker Tilly helps some of our clients with things like construction estimate review and value engineering. Are there ways to reduce the project cost by utilizing different kinds of materials, different kinds of construction methods, different kinds of trade and craft professionals to deliver the scope of services in order to bring compliance with plans, specifications, and enhance the budget? If a project can be brought in under budget, the project ROI is improved, which benefits the developer as well as the investors. The next thing that we're going to share with you is Baker Tilly's performance dashboard. We use this for all of our clients and all of our projects. This is, as you can see, that this dashboard is a summary of what's called a cost performance indicator, a schedule performance indicator, and shares with you some of the elements of the project. We're going to take a moment and go through a few of these items. Working from the upper left-hand corner and across the top, we share with you where is the budget today, what is the current budget, where was the planned value. Planned value being how much should we have spent by this point based on the progress of the project. So if you have a $1.2 million project that is 50% complete, your planned value would be at $600,000. However, if your planned completion is not at 50%, but in fact is at 40%, now your 40% is at $480,000. If your project is actually only at 30% complete when it should be at 50% complete, your earned value then becomes a reflection of what your actual progress is against the planned progress. And then lastly, we look here at what is the spend to date. So is the contractor billing your project faster than they're building the project? And these indices then become our metrics for managing the project. So you've got a cost performance indicator that tells us, are we billing faster or slower than where we should be? Indicators that are below 1 give us an indication that the project is behind. Schedule performance indicator of 0.911. This one tells us our project is a little bit behind. And if you look at the schedule analysis over to the right, you can see that this project is a little bit more than 3 weeks behind schedule. So the purpose of providing you with a project dashboard is so at a glance, all participants of the project, investors, developers, lenders, any other interested third party can at a glance see what the financial performance and schedule performance of the project is. So concluding that part of this, I'm going to turn this over to you, Tom, to talk a little bit about some of the benefits and case studies. We've talked here about the benefits as we have gone through this. So let's jump right into the case study on $150 million entertainment project.
Yeah, and I'll just say that this isn't our project. This is just a case study. But yeah, I mean, I think what we find in relying on Baker Tilly for these types of reports is to help us to get an idea of if we're going to do a project, any project, are we on time? Are we on schedule? And are we on budget? And so I think that for our intents and purposes, we want to make sure that that project is moving as it should, and will be ultimately at completion. All the jobs will be created. All of the EB-5 money will be appropriately spent. And Tony, as you were going through all of this, I was thinking about on the back end where this becomes really beneficial to us and to our investors is at the I-829 stage when investors are going and presenting that the project has done exactly what it's supposed to do. This type of analysis and data from a third party gives a lot of comfort to USCIS when they're looking at that 829 to show exactly how money was spent, how jobs were created, how the project succeeded in its objectives. So yeah, so from our perspective, it checks all the boxes in our desire to be extremely transparent as it relates to the construction activities.
Thanks, Tom. As we walk through a couple of the items on this case study, I want to point out the box here on the right. Expectations are the construction spend should equate to progress. Invoices are paid timely. Lien waivers are monitored. We spent a lot of time talking about lien waivers. Claims are identified early, and budget issues are identified and elevated. These are expectations that every investor holds pretty close to heart as they're going to be putting their money into a project. And of course, you know, when we look at EB-5, your investors are frequently not just physically distant from the project, but also practically distant from the project. They are generally not going to be construction professionals, and they are anticipating that the project is going to be professionally run. And the benefits here of employing a third party to examine your costs and make sure that the information that's being provided to the investor community is complete, accurate, and timely is that confirmation of construction spend is factual and accurate. Nobody wants to see a project that is 30% over budget, or worse yet, is surprised that it's 30% over budget. Assurance that the construction documentation is complete and that you're not going to be running into issues at occupancy certificate time and handover. confidence that the funds are used appropriately and not misappropriated for something incorrect or inappropriate, and then just overall insight into the project.